Dawn, I'm the Reclusive Crafter, and today is Stash Busting Saturday, and I've got for you today the end of project drawer that I showed you yesterday, and I'm going to be showing you how to put this together. Now I have lost the sound on my original video, so I'm having to do a bit of a voiceover for this, so hopefully it won't impede too much, and I hope we're going to be able to get through it without too much hassle. So for this particular project you're going to need 2 pieces of cardstock. I am using 200 GSM. As I mentioned yesterday, you could probably do with something a little bit heavier, but unfortunately this is all I've got at the moment, so it's just going to have to work. And on the base of the drawer, so the actual drawer base itself, it needs to be 13¼ inch wide, and it needs to be 10½ height. Okay, so those are your main sizes for your base. And then the score lines, we've got score lines at 1 1/8 inch and 2 1/4 inch, and that's on all sides. So you need to do those score lines on each of the sides as I've shown you here, so on top, bottom and both sides. Okay, so once you've done that, hopefully it will all make sense to you, and then we're going to be going on and we're going to be doing the top of the cover afterwards, which I will walk you through when we get to that. Okay, but the size of that needs to be, it's a total width of 15½ inches and a total height of 10¾ . So on your base you need to be looking at on the pieces that you cut out, I've marked with an X the bits that you need to cut out, and on the base those are the only sections that you cut out. And here I'm just talking you through where the score lines need to go. Okay, and I'm just going to start cutting that out now to be able to show you. So when you're cutting, you just want to cut along the score line, and from the bottom up you're going to the second score line, and then up to the first score line from the side. And you need to do that on all 4 corners. So that's the second one done, as you can see, just up to the second score line there. And that's the 4th corner there. Okay, so that's what you'll end up with and how it will look once you've taken the corners off that you don't need. And just getting rid of those bits there. And now what we need to do is we need to make the flaps. So we're going to be cutting up where you're being shown, up to, again, just up to the second score line. So if you cut along the score line, you're going up to the second score line. And fold that over, and then that gives you your little flappy bit there. Okay, do that with all 4 sections. Just remember, you're not cutting this out, you're just cutting up to the score lines. And that's what you'll end up with. So you've got your 4 little flappy bits, and we just turn that up the right way so that it all makes sense. Okay, we're going to add on the double-sided tape now. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut a little hole where the little tab pull needs to be. But before I do that, I'm going to show you that to strengthen the base, I cut a piece of card that was, just bear with me, I can't think what the size was. It was 5 7/8 in width and 8 5/8 in height. And I'm just going to add that to the base, just to give the base a little bit more stability. I did find yesterday that because I'm using not very thick cardstock, that there wasn't a lot of rigidity there. So I just thought if I added this bit of card to it, with it being a double thickness, it would just give that a little bit more rigidity and more stability to the drawer itself. I'm just going to glue that into place. Make sure when you do glue it down that you're staying within the confines of the score lines. You don't want to be going over the score lines because it'll impede the drawer sides being able to fold up. And now I'm going to put on the little tabby bit. So all I'm using is just a bit of off-cut ribbon. This was a bit of ribbon in, I think it was wrapped around some pyjamas that I bought actually. And I just thought, oh, that'll do for something. I'll keep that. And it's absolutely ideal to act as a little tab. So I'm just going to cut off a little piece, about 2.5, 3 inches is all you need. You don't need an awful lot. And this is actually quite wide tape. So I'm going to glue it together, but I'm going to fold it in to make it a little bit thinner, just to go through the cuts that I've made for it. As you can see here, I'm just about to glue it together. I'm not going to lie, this is really weird doing a voiceover, but I hope you're getting the gist. And we're just folding that over. Just squashing it into place. There we go. Just making sure that does stick down. Perfect. And now I've already cut the hole for it, but I didn't make it quite big enough for the tape, so I need to cut it out a little bit more, and I cut it at around the 7.5, 3, sorry, about the 3 inch. It's about 7.5 centimetres, and I just did about a centimetre cut on that, just in the middle of the panel there. Make sure that you do cut the bottom panel, not the top panel, because it's the bottom panel where the tab will actually come out when it's completed. Now, as you can see here, I struggle to get that in, so I need to make that a little bit bigger, that little hole. It's not going to work, Dawn. You need to cut the hole. There we go. Just needed a little bit of adjustment on that. Good old craft knife. There we go. There you can see there's a good little hole there, and we're going to tuck that through. And I've made it a little bit longer than I want it, so I'm going to just trim off the end bit. Like so. I'm going to glue that down. And now I'm going to add a little bit of double-sided tape just to hold that in place while it attaches. There we go, that's just holding that in place now while that attaches, and as you can see now we've got the little tab coming out there. Just a little bit of mop up in aisle 3. Okay, we're now going to put on the double-sided tape around the flaps and around the side bits. And when you're putting your double-sided tape on, you want the double-sided tape to go to the outer edge of the fold, so that when it folds down, it's folding effectively what will be the bottom of the fold. And I'm just going to trim that off. And now I'm just going to go around and add the rest of the tape on, and I will be back in a second. Okay, so we've got all the double-sided tape down on the sides, and I'm now going to do the little flap bits. And again, if you pop the tape at the outer edge of the flaps, and when the top bit folds over, the top bit will hold those in place. I'm just going to go around, just do all 4 tabs. Oh, excuse my hair getting in the shot there, I've got my fan on. It's so warm today, isn't it? Gosh. Still, apparently we're nearly at the end of it, so hopefully it won't be for too much longer. Nearly there. And that's it, that's the 4 tabs done. I'm just going to burnish those down. I do find that double-sided tape, that it peels off better if you burnish it down. So if you give it a good burnishing before you try and peel it off, it does tend to peel off a little bit better. Okay, and I'm going to pop the tabs in first. So I'm going to peel off the first two, like so. I sometimes find it really difficult to get these things off. I don't have a sticky pokey tool like some people have got. Okay, now when you stick it on, fold the flap up and try and lay it flat against the score, and then bring the two corners together, as you can see there, so that they're nice and flush, and then push the flap into place. Okay, hopefully you can see that there. And then do the same on the next corner. Hold the flap on the score line, bring the side up, marry up the corners so that they're nice and flush, and then firm it into place. There we go, it's coming together now, and you can see the base there. And we're just going to peel off these last two. And we're going to again marry up the corners like so. Make sure that the flap's where it needs to be and firm it into place. I've just noticed there that that flap is a little bit squiffy, so I'm just gently easing that back off. Now if you can ease these back off, great, but if you can't, just leave it. You can work round it, okay? You don't want to be tearing it at this point. And then just marry it up a little bit better than I did the first time. Bring it into place and firm it back down. That's better. Okay, that was a better fixing. And then again, final one, just lay your edge into place, marry up those corners, making sure they're nice and flush, and press that into place. Tra-la! That's that bit done. All right, we're now just going to fold over the side bits. So I'm going to remove the double-sided tape that's covering the tab. And that'll just give it a little bit of extra tackiness. And I'm going to take off the double-sided tape on the short side. And now we're just going to fold along the score line and fold that over into place. And if you've done your measurements all properly, that will fit very nicely into that little section there. Okay, now turn it round and do the back section. Exactly the same thing. What you can do before you stick anything down is you can fold your sides over just to make sure that they do fit nicely, and if for any reason they don't, you can trim them off at this stage. If you try and stick them down first and then find it's too long, it makes it awfully difficult to rectify it. So just make sure that your fold overs go in really nicely, and do any trimming that you need to do prior to sticking it. Okay, popping that one in place, and now just the two side edges. Struggling to get that up as always. There we go. Okay, just going to fold that over. And pop that into place. And then the final edge, pull the tape up and stick it on down. Ta-da! And that is the base of your drawer section complete. Nice and neat and tidy, and it's a little bit firmer for having that little bit of card put into the bottom. Perfect-amundo. I'm just going to give that a quick burnish just to make sure that all the tape adheres to where it needs to and that nothing's going to peel away. Give it a right good burnish. There we go. Okay, and where you can see that white line, those were just the white lines I used on the marker pen to show you where the score lines go. Perfect. And as you can see, there we go. That's our base done. All right, we're going to move on to the cover now. All right. So the cover's a little bit more intricate, a little bit more cutting to do on this, but it shouldn't be too difficult. Now, just a heads up, I do put some double-sided tape in the wrong place, so don't put anything down as you're watching this. Watch the full section of this before you do anything, okay? Because I do mess up a little bit on the tape, but I manage to rectify what I do. So make sure that you watch this section through completely if you're following along before you make a start, okay? So your total width's are 15 and a half, and your total height is 10 3/4, and you're scoring at 1 3/16, at 7 6/16, at 8 9/16, and then 14 3/4, okay, along the long edge. I'm not going to lie, I can't remember what I was jibby-jabbering about there. Oh, I know what I was jibby-jabbering about. If you want to decorate your box, you might be better off doing that now before you start putting it to place. But if you are decorating, make sure that you get the card that you're decorating, or the pattern paper that you're decorating, within the score lines, so that you can still fold your folds, okay? That's what I was trying to explain there. Now on my prototype, I did find that the front of the box was a little bit flappy. So I've made this one slightly longer, and I've also introduced a back section cut as well, which I didn't do on the first one. I added the back section in as an afterthought, to be honest, but I've done it as part of the whole sheet, which I'll show you. And then once you've done your scores on the long side, you then need to do a couple of scores on that top set, or just the one score on that top section. Actually, it is 2 scores. I'm just looking now. It is 2 scores that you need to do on that top section. So you do your 1 3/16, your 7 6/16, 8 9/16, 14 3/4, and then on that top you do 11 16ths at the top score and 1 7/8 on that bottom score, just between those 2 score lines. Okay, you only want those 2 scores between those 2 score lines, so between score line 1 3/16 and 7 6/16. And the only sections you're cutting out on this are the 2 sections that are marked with an X. All right, and hopefully you've understood that all okay. I'm going to cut out those 2 bits now. So these are the only 2 sections that you cut out. So cut along that top score line up to the second score line at 8 9/16. All right, and then you're just cutting down to that first score line, which is 1 7/8. All right, so that's the section that you're taking out there. And then you've just got 2 more cuts to do on this, and you need to cut the flaps, so that section there and that section there, and cut that up, and this one, cut that up there, and then those 2 fold in, as you can see there. So that folds in and the flap folds over. Okay, so that's what your page will look like once you've done all your cutting. All right, and now it's simply a case of putting it together. All right, now what I should have done was that bit that I'm folding now, the double-sided tape should have gone on the outer side, so along that outer section is where I should have put the tape. I didn't do that, but I still make it work, okay? And hopefully this will make sense to you. I'm just folding all my score lines at the moment and burnishing. And then that folds over like that, as you can see. Okay, and that folds over, and Bob's your auntie's uncle. So we're now going to put some double-sided tape down. Okay, so I put my double-sided tape down along this side here. It shouldn't really have gone along there, okay, but it ends up working anyway. I make it work on that. Although I do have to bring the tape in slightly because the tape's actually wider than I needed it to be. And I want some tape along there. You can see there, it makes sense, doesn't it? I should have put the tape on that outer section there. I'm just trying to work out now what's the right width of tape to use. And as you can see, I try and rectify it, and then I end up putting the tape on the wrong bit. I end up putting it on the inside, not on the outside. So that's where it should have gone, but it should have gone on the other side, okay? So when you do it yourselves, make sure that you put your tape on there, but do it on the outer side, not that piece that I've just put that on, because I'm an idiot. I am a silly Billy. Got myself all kerfuddled. But it don't rightly matter none because I rectify it. And being as though it's only for me, it's okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, we're going to fold those little flappy bits in. Put a little bit of tape on those flappy bits. I'm just making sure I know where it's all got to go, so I don't make another mistake. Easy done. I'm just going to cut those off. Sorry, I'm slightly off camera there. Just trying to find some decent scissors. I've got a million pairs of scissors and I can't find any to do the job. I don't know where they've all gone. And then we're just going to pop another bit on this bit. Just at the top there. Look, it's just a mess. I don't know what went wrong. That's it, that's got it. Just tidy that up. And now I'm just going to bring in a little piece to be able to just tear that off neatly. There we go. Okay, so we're good to put it together. I just want a little bit of tape along that section there. I'm just finding the right width of tape. And we're going to pop that along there. And that's just going on the outside edge, which is where the other piece should have gone. There we go. And that's got that in place. Right then, so where I'm pointing to now is not where the tape should have been. That's on the right section. The tabs are correct. Okay. And I'm being so that tape is too wide, I'm just going to pull it up a little bit, and I'm just going to roll it over a little bit as well, just so that it's not as wide. And then I'm going to pull up the little bit that I've rolled over. See, there's ways and means to sort things out. It's not too much hassle. Just bringing that in. There we go. And now where that's all rucked up, I'm just going to peel that away. There we go. Oops, sticking to it. Peel that off. Done. Okay. Now I'm going to glue my tab down. Now I'm just being careful not to stick this to the other side, because that tape actually shouldn't have been there in the first instance. So I'm just being a little bit careful that I don't attach the tab to it. Pulling that up, and the other side. And now I'm just going to fold those in and bring up the side and just marry up those corners exactly the same as we did on the base of the drawer. All right, so we're just going to marry up those corners and just make sure that the tab is relatively straight on that section there. Okay, and that's perfect. And now I'm going to do the same on this side. Marry up those corners again. And I'm going to fold that piece in. I'm just going to pull off just a little section of that and just peel it outwards, okay, just so I can get hold of it. And then we're going to bring that other section over now and stick it onto the other side. So I'm going to pop that in. I'm just working out the best way to do this. Pop that in. Marry those edges. and then just gently feel that along the edge and just pop that in place, and that's your side bit on. All right, and then your top piece, pop your hand inside, peel off your tape, and now just gently ease that section into place and feed it along. Should go in relatively easily. And then lay your box down and just push that ledge into place. And then go over onto the side and do the same on the side bit that you've just stuck down as well. Okay. And that is your sleeve done. So your sleeve for your drawer is done, and all being well, it'll fit. So pop that in there. Bob's your auntie's uncle. Job's done. Now, as you can see, that does come over just slightly, which I think is better, because on the one I did yesterday, it did gape a little bit, but that slides in and out of there perfectly. So I am going to go away and now decorate this, and I'll come back and I'll show you when it's completed, all nicely and decorated. So I'll see you in a minute. So I've just decorated that, and I've filled it up. And we've now got one with the ocean spray end of project bits and pieces in. And I'm sure you'll recognise this one. This is the Romantique journal. And we've now got all my little bits and pieces from that in there as well. And I just literally added a few of the offcuts from that journal onto the front just to decorate that. Just put a little bit around the sides. Job done. So I now have the start of my little collection of end of project boxes. So they're beautiful, aren't they? I'm very happy with those. Hope you like them too. Let me know what you think in the comments, and if you've got any ideas for storage solutions that you'd like me to have a look at or investigate. Haven't stuck that on there very well, did I? Let me just pop a little bit of glue on there while I'm jibby jabbering. And yeah, let me know, and we can take a look and see what we can come up with. If you've got any sort of storage issues or anything that you want me to have a look at, ideas that we may be able to come up with. All right, that's it for today, guys. Hope you have a lovely weekend, and I will look forward to seeing you all Mishmash Monday. Look at that. Beautiful, aren't they? Absolutely love them. See you Monday, guys. Take care. Bye.